Hi, this is Paul Brinkhurst from FutureWorks, and this is a new training video on assessments and understanding plots using the new interface. So when you log into ESAT, you land on the dashboard, and if you actually have a finalization to do for an assessment, it'll appear on your dashboard here. Once that is finalized, then the plot for the learner will appear, and you will be able to analyze that plot for the first time. So I'm going to show you what that page looks like by just going to manage time points. I'm going to select one for, let's say, Betty. So when you first finalize it, this is what the page will look like. In this particular example, there is only one row of scores, but that doesn't matter. What the plot is showing is the consensus scores in blue and the self-assessment scores in red. Ideally now, your team is with you. So everybody who contributed to the assessment can contribute to understanding what the assessment is saying. That may not be the case. It may be that as counselor for this person, you have to do that yourself. In any event, what you're trying to do is figure out as much information from this plot as you can. So the first thing is, where are the strengths? All the things in green. And then second, where are the weaknesses? Things in red or things in yellow. The red, high risk of problematic behaviors happening a lot. Yellow, less risk, but it's still not consistently meeting the expectations of an employer. So you're going to identify those, and then you're going to look for the gaps. So where are there big gaps between them? The bigger the gap, the greater the difference of opinion about the scores is going to be. So in these circumstances, your emphasis in a debrief is going to be on trying to build a common understanding of the behaviors. Either they're underestimating their skills from your perspective, and you'll want to help them understand why you're scoring them high, or they're overestimating their skills, and you're going to want to help them understand why an employer wouldn't see their behaviors the way they're seeing them themselves. In either case, the observations are extremely useful here because they're concrete examples of what happened in a particular circumstance and how they might have responded differently. Okay, so the first thing, again, identify the strengths, identify the weaknesses, and identify the perception gap areas. Note that sometimes you're going to have scores that are very close, so there's no perception gap, and they're in the red or in the yellow. So it's a problem in terms of moving ahead. But the good news is, with no perception gap, they have good self-awareness about a weakness that they have to resolve. And that is something that you want to acknowledge with them. It's a positive sign, even though there is work to be done. The last thing that you're going to want to figure out is whether, in fact, these skills are connected. So clearly, if you had poor motivation, that might be expressing itself as behaviors that are related to time management. So you could see low scores in time management and low scores in motivation. In that circumstance, the area to work on is probably motivation. It's probably that lack of motivation is causing them to have poor time management skills. So these kinds of connections can take place all over the place. Poor presentation could result in them not wanting to work with other people, and so their teamwork skills seem low. Part of what you're doing here is trying to understand the behaviors as closely as you can so that you understand which skills you should work on first, right? Because you can't work on all of them. So as a group, you want to discuss what the connectivity between these skills looks like. Once you've got that in mind, then what you can do is you can figure out which skills you want to work on first and how you're going to do it so that the entire team is on the same page. If it's just you doing the analysis, you could share what you're planning to do through a note to the team so they can see it. Once you've got that analysis done and it's time to debrief the learner, you're going to use a different page because you don't want them seeing the scores. So you're going to go to Learners. And next to Betty, we can go down here and we can go to View and Print Plots. And here's the same plot. with no scores. So at this point, you're going to set up a meeting one-on-one between yourself, the counselor, and the learner, and you're going to talk about this plot. You may decide to let them take the lead and ask them, what does the plot tell them? Or you may go in with sharing the analysis of the plot that you have. But in either event, you want to make this a joint exercise in which they feel that they have influence on how this is being done. It could be that they don't agree with the self-assessment result. I mean, they only answered 6 questions on the skill. And so it's not capturing the full picture of their experience. And so that's useful because you will gain a better understanding of how they see themselves. And likewise, they're going to gain an understanding of why you're seeing them the way you are. And maybe you're interpreting their behaviors in a way that's not intended. Still, you're representing the employer. So the way you're interpreting them is important for them to understand as well. So when it comes to the debrief, you're going to use the strategy that you started with. You're going to start the debrief, and then you're going to continue and adapt as you go based on what they're saying, and let the storyline develop. Ultimately, what you want to come out of this session with is some kind of plan for moving forward on 1 or 2 skills, and you're going to then capture that in a PIA or some kind of agreement with the learner, which you're going to share with the rest of the team. Once you've done the debrief, you can select debrief complete. And if you want to, you can either print or email the plot to the learner if they want it. Printing actually will it'll open up a different version that can be printed on a black and white printer. Likewise, down here, in this case, we only have 1 time point, so there is no information on the plot. You can look at any of the skills by just clicking on the appropriate skill. You can click on the plot, and it will open up. Of course, we don't have any data here to show, so let me just go back to another one. Let's go to the new learner. Let's go to view and print plots. So here we have 3 assessments. We can see them. We can click on the plot. Oh, print, sorry. Click on print, and there's the plots, which you can now print. And also note down here that you can look at the current program time points, or if they've been shifting from one program to another, you can click on all time points, and it'll show you all the data across all their programs. And that's how you access and would debrief the plots. For more information on debriefing, there are resources as part of our LMS knowledge base, which you can access through the links sheet that was provided, or just contact ESAT support if you need assistance in accessing that information. There will also be help features on the pages in a very short time. And that completes this video.